Welcome back to Cars Plus Classics, and today we've got a really special treat. This is a Mk1 Renault Clio. Now, I appreciate these cars were very popular at the time, and they're still hanging on quite well. But there's a lot to like about these cars, and there's a lot of things that we've kind of lost in the modern essence of small cars today. So stick around for this review, because this is a really special car. So as we all know, this came out in 1990. Now in the UK it was released in 1991, but there was a lot riding on the little Clio's shoulders. When you think about it, it replaced the really successful Renault 5. I mean, the Renault 5 was released in America as well as all of Europe. It was super successful. So like I said, there was a lot riding on this little car's shoulders. But ultimately as well, it has to be something different, something interesting, something kind of pushing the boat forward. I mean, by this point we had the Mark III Fiesta, which wasn't that great, let's be honest. But Rover were really trying with the relaunched Rover Metro, later on Rover 100. So there's a lot riding on this car's shoulders, because there was a lot of cars coming out, and it wasn't really from UK or from America, which was the competition was coming from. Some of it was from Japan, but most of it was coming from the rest of Europe, like the Fiat Uno, for example, and later on obviously the Fiat Punto. So like I said, there's a lot of the rest in this car's shoulders. Now, most people, when I say the Mk1 Renault Clio, what comes to most people's mind? Obviously the gold wheels, blue-bodied Renault Clio Williams. Fantastic car, no doubt about that. Magnificent. But what about the bogger standard ones? What about the lesser models? What about the non-sporting ones? There's still so much talent in these cars. So later on in the review, I will go and explain why they're talented. But let's look at the range. Now, like I said, it came to the UK in 1991. This is a very late phase 1 as well, because they got facelifted in 1994, and this is in 1994. Now, the phase 2 brought about very small changes. I think different grille, probably different tech upgrades, etc. Safety equipment, their usual gubbins, really. And then later on in 1996, we had the noticeable facelift, which brought about bigger and slightly more rounded headlights, slightly more sculpted bonnet and bumpers, and basically just gave it a more 90s styling. And to be fair, this came at the cusp of the change in the style from kind of 80s blocky aerodynamic look to 90s smoothed off aerodynamic look. And by the time it got replaced in 1998, the styling had changed yet again. It went to being more bulbous aerodynamic look. So it went through 3 different phases, and to be honest, it survived quite well in the way it's styled. Now let's look at the styling of this Mk1 Renault Clio. Being a car from 1990, it was kind of stuck between 2 decades of styling. You kind of had the dominant but very starting to age blocky styling of the 1980s that you got in, say, Volvo 740 or Rover 800. And you were starting to move on to the kind of curvaceous styling that, let's be honest, a lot of the Japanese cars very much latched onto in the early 1990s, where cars like the P10 Nissan Primera or the Toyota Carina E by this point were starting to have very aerodynamically smooth styling, oily smooth in fact. And it really was caught between these 2 worlds, and you kind of see that coming out in the styling. So what I like about this particular car is that you have a very lightly sculpted bonnet, but again, it's not oily smooth like the Japanese ones were. It's sculpted, and yet you have these headlights which are a world away from the Renault 5 that it took over from. But at the same time, again, you get the indicators amalgamated into the headlights, smooth, and yet trying to keep that French flair. You have a grille which has almost been completely, well, it's been cladded off. It's not part of the grille, it's actually part of the bonnet, but it's designed to look like the grille has been slatted off, and you've got these 2 tiny little slats right below trying to push it away and make the car look super aerodynamic, whilst kind of having a bit of a semblance of the era it came from, the late 80s, early 90s. And so this particular model, which is the RT model, came with a few extra toys. You had body colored something in terms of the bumpers, you had a sunroof, you had 2 electric windows, which is all the rage back then. And so you had a car that's styled, that was trying to look a bit upmarket. I believe this is a couple of trims down from the top on the non-sporting ones. Now going back to the styling, I said you've got the fog lights and you've got a very simple slatted grille, almost to the lower grille, I should say, almost similar to this upper hidden grille here. So very 1980s, kind of early 90s styling. What you expect really, but without that kind of Japanesey look. It looks very much like a car from France. That's what it was, that's what it's trying to be, and that's what it's showing off. Now we go around to the sides, you see you've got the black rubbing strips. I love a good rubbing strip, it really is useful and they look good as well. Adds a bit of a bit of sleekness and loweredness to the car styling. We've got these aftermarket hubcaps. Don't believe they're original to the model, but they do serve a purpose and they make the car look quite nice, so it's okay. I actually quite like this side repeater here, this little emblem on the side, because it tells you which trim it is. Makes it a bit more prestige, but actually it's been designed nicely. It's all kind of coherent with the actual side repeater. Now the little doors, you've got the belt line. This belt line here is lower. It's not a typical Germanic belt line, but it's right its way up. It's not trying to show off as being big and bold and solid. It's trying to show as being soft and feminine curved. And actually, you can kind of see some of the 1980s Renault styling sculpture here. With say the Renault 11, the 9s, even the 21s and the 19s. You can actually see it a little bit from these flanks. It's a bit different at the front because they have slightly different grills, but the sides are very much a bit of a clue of that. So that's what I'm saying. It's a bit of an amalgamation, a bit of a mishmash of design, but it works. It's kind of that French flair, Gallic style, whatever you want to call it. I like the styling. And so the belt line continues right the way, and it actually gives you kind of almost a sculpted look at the boot lid, almost like it should have a spoiler there, but it doesn't, and actually it looks all the better for it, really. Thankfully, Jude has adorned this car with both variations of the taillights. You've got the wonderful, magnificent pre-face taillights here, and then obviously on the right-hand side you've got the facelifted Phase 3 revised light classes showing the kind of curviness starting to eep into the car. But either way, and I digress, you have these taillights here with a lower black strip. Not really entirely sure what the purpose of the strip is there for, really, but it does bring some cohesion between the lights, as well as kind of adding an extra line between these lines, so it makes the car just look a bit more sleeker. I think it's actually really good. It's a really good design. And when you think about it, this particular black strip with the black rubbing strip, it looks, again, you've got the 80s kind of lines going through, again, ruler-like lines cutting right through, but it makes the car feel lowered. It makes the car feel a bit more aerodynamic. And also, it's a hint of zestiness, I'd already use sportiness. It's not quite a sporty model, but you definitely can see there which way they were heading towards and which way they're trying to move away from. And I really am quite impressed with the styling of this car, especially in this day and age. I think this has aged thoroughly well. There's so much about the styling I like. Low bumpers are the same, and it's an absolutely wonderful design from Renault. You know what? Top marks Renault for designing a car like this, having the guts to design this, and for aging so thoroughly well. Well done, Renault. So let's start with the interior and let's look at the positives. I'll sat at the front, and I'll come back to that in a minute, why that's positive. But in terms of the styling in the interior, now this is taking me completely by surprise. I'm so used to 19s cars from this era where they're very, I wouldn't say plain, but they're very, they're very neat in their appearance, is a very polite way of putting it. And yeah, it is, I'll touch on the dull side, but this is, like I mentioned earlier about the styling being two different worlds, of the 80s blocky and the 90s aerodynamic, it's pretty much collides in this interior, because you've got the blocky center console and you've got the kind of smooth aerodynamic deck lid on the front with the Matt Richardson approved T-tray. And so it's brilliant. It's really, really nice on the inside. Also like the color as well. You kind of got that very like light gray hint of blue plastics. And actually, talking about the plastics, the quality, I'm impressed. I thought Renaults were meant to be rubbish quality, but they're not. You actually have a bit of soft touch plastics here and there. Not so much in the centre for some reason. But you know what? I'm not criticising it too much. The interior, I love the styling. It's really interesting. You even get buttons to the volume. Now, they don't work, obviously. It's an older car, but, where it did work, hey, that was fantastic. And finally, you got a little cover for your stereo. So back when stereo thieves were all the rage, there's a nice little hidden device. I like it. There's a lot to like about this interior at the front. But it's not so nice, unfortunately, at the back, as you're about to see. Yeah, this doesn't look right, does it? There's a reason for that. It's agonizing torture. This now, I must admit, for maximum comedy value, I have sat at the back of the seats being adjusted for Jude's height, which is 6'2", and I'm not exactly the smallest bloke, as you can tell. I'm 5'11" myself, and yeah, agonizing torture. But there is some good news, because you've got, again, the nice styling and all that. You've also got a cigarette lighter tray down here, so you could enjoy a nice cigarette as you're dying from agonizing torture. But apart from that, yeah, these cars weren't really designed for big fat blokes that need to sit in the back. But if you've got little kids, or you just have someone who's an amputee, they will like it. But yeah, for everyone else, not so great. But like I said, that's not what it's designed for. Now, what's the magnificent Mk1 Renault Clio like to drive? Well, firstly, viewers, I must admit that it's again a warm day, which is extremely unusual in the UK, especially recently we've had a lot of rain. So I've had to open the windows in this one. I do apologise. But if you could bear with me, I have a lot to talk about this car, because what is it like to drive? There's a lot to explain. Well, you know what? Much different than I was expecting. I thought this would be a terrible car, and I thought this was going to be something where it was just going to be a bit wallaby, a bit soft, a bit French, and a bit useless. You know what? What an absolute fool I was. This is magnificent. It's lightweight like a K11 Micro. But at the same time, you also have a peppy 1.4 engine. It's not even 16 valves, and yet it really wants to go. It's fantastic. You also find that it has magnificently comfortable seats. You know, I've never owned one Renault in my life. I mean, it's a Mk1, the Mk1 facelift, and it wasn't as comfortable as this. And this is a smaller car. This is brilliant. I really like the way this car drives. Also, the handling, something else to behold. You know, for a small car that's got surprisingly no sporting pedigree, this has been the RT model, not the Williams. This is magnificent. This is so good. It feels very pert and precise. You know, not necessarily quite as sharp as a P10 Primera or as, you know, as playful as a Mk1 Ford Focus, but it's not meant to be. It never was. It was meant to be comfortable on those Harvey French Parisian roads. I mean, to be fair, I mean, the British do rival them. We have the world's greatest myriad of potholes and speed humps and speed cameras and low traffic neighbourhoods and ULEZ.
A few moments later.
I digress, and I'll leave that for Jeff Bias Cars. In terms of the way this car drives, we're going over humps at the moment, and they're horrible little humps, and can't feel a thing. Can't feel a thing whatsoever. This is a magnificent car to drive. And also, it's nippy. Like I said, the 1.4 engine is a very peppy little unit. Now, I'm not sure the brake horsepower is. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. But this is a magnificent car, and I really wish that when these cars were affordable and plentiful, I had bought one. Even if it wasn't as reliable as Drew's one is, which he's very, very lucky about, and there's no doubt. I really wish I'd given it a try. It is a brilliant car, and it's such a shame that we don't really see these cars anymore. They're really worthy of having another look at, and they're certainly worthy of being a modern classic.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I can't live without you. No, I did you wrong, girl. No, I did you wrong, baby. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a nippy little car. Even the takeoff, it's just great. And yet you have this lovely, smooth, composed ride, very comfortable. You know, I compare it to a Peugeot 206 I used to have. Again, that was very nippy, very pert. It just wasn't as good, as solid as this car. It really felt like a poor quality car made out of, well, paper mache. This, on the other hand, doesn't feel anything like that. It actually feels like a solid car. You have the kind of almost Germanic solidity of a 6N Polo, unbelievably, in a French car, yet the comfort of a Peugeot and the nippiness of a K11 Micro. This is just brilliant. This is fantastic. Now, I think I still prefer the Mk1 Toyota Yaris, but then that's like 9 years newer than this car. Of course it's getting better. It's an advancement over this car. This is pretty much the daddy of them all when you think about it. This kind of set the framework. This is magnificent. As you probably hear, I'm going over some very badly designed speed humps that just keep sending jolts to the car. I can't feel a thing. My bottom is still comfortable on these lovely French seats. I was telling Jude earlier, it actually feels like I'm sitting on a fresh loaf of bread. It's magnificent. Or being a French car, being a fresh baguette of some kind. Wonderful. Yeah, this is a fantastically comfortable car. And even on the move, it's just so nippy. It's one of those cars where you could be doing 30 miles an hour and you feel like you're doing 50. It's brilliant. I like it. In fact, more than that, I love it. And I've told Jude this before, and I'll say it to him again. If he is selling it, please let me know. I would love a car like this. I can see why Jude wanted to be part of it though, because it's just such a happy, cheerful car. You could be doing a boring, miserable journey to work and it puts a smile on your face. I love it. Jude loves it for a good reason. It's a magnificent car. Well done, Renault. You've done a brilliant job with this car. What a nice way to replace the Renault 5. And I really hope the Mk2 Renault Clio was just as good as this one. Now, like I mentioned in the drive of this car, I've got so much to apologise for. I used to criticise this car. I used to take the mickey out of it. I mean, granted, at the time, these were cars we took for granted anyway. But I always think, I used to look down my nose at this car. When these were cheap and they were plentiful, I used to laugh at them and think to myself, French, it's rubbish. And what a fool I am. What an absolute pillock I was. Because this is a brilliant car. What was I thinking? And this car has managed to make it to 31 years and have relatively no issues. And Jude's been happy with it, to be honest, so clearly it's doing a good job. And to be honest, the interior build quality is fantastic as well. It's really not bad for a car that's supposed to be meant to be terrible. There's really not much about this car that's bad. I really like pretty much everything about it. I'm such a fool. I owe this car a massive apology because it's brilliant. I really like this car, and there's lots and lots I can go on about. Like I said, it's got a fantastic drive, super comfortable on the seats and on the drive and where it feels. Surprisingly spacious in the interior as well. I'm quite impressed with it, really. And also, it's a good car in the modern day world. It shows what little cars are missing. It shows the flair, the je ne sais quoi-ness that the French cars just do not have these days. And it just shows you what we were capable of doing. In terms of the small cars, it really set the foundation. It laid the stones down for what we got later on, which was also good, like the Mk1 Toyota Yaris, which I've also reviewed. And this is a lot of it is owed to cars like this, and obviously the predecessor Renault 5s. Renault did a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong, if the reliability was absolutely atrocious, it still drives really well and it does a lot of things really good. So I would probably give it a 7, maybe even an 8. I would be that tempted. This is how much I like this car. But let's be honest, it's 31 years old. Jude has no problems with it. It's a good car. But the fact this particular one here has been absolutely brilliant. It's a magnificent car. I absolutely love it. It really shows what the French are missing out. In fact, what modern day small cars are missing out. Great car. And also, I'm really sorry, Renault. I'm really sorry, Renault Clio, Renault as a company, Renault fanboys, and to Jude as well, of course, for disregarding cars like this. This is brilliant. What was I thinking? It's a magnificent car. I love it. And for that particular reason, this car, I will give it a score, and a very well-deserved score. So Jude, well done. This car is a 10 out of 10. This is a magnificent car. I love it, and I'm so sorry I disregarded it. Now, if you like my content, and if you like my channel, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye. So what's the Mk1 Renault Laguna? Not Renault Laguna, what's a pillar?
Do I press?
It's already on, it's recording. I'll just edit it all out.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
So driving the Mk1 Renault Clio, it's a bit of an experience now. I appreciate I'm driving over these, what can I describe it really? Flat bricks. So it's making the car rattle and shake a little bit. Stop. So I've decided to start off the review
No,
on
start
a very...
again. This is even. I think we'll start.
Volkswagen, das Auto.